How does someone avoid accountability for more than 20 years? Well, in just a moment, I'll tell you how they've done it. Most people believe that the legal system works relatively swiftly. For example, if you rent a home to someone and they don't pay their rent, you can have them evicted. Similarly, if someone owns a home and they stop making payments, you can foreclose and evict them. Well, that's the way it usually works, because usually when people don't make their rental payments and don't make their mortgage payments, it's because they've fallen on hard times and they're upset, they're worried, they're embarrassed by the situation that they're in. And when they're told by the courts, you have to leave, they pack up their stuff and go. But not everybody acts like a reasonable person. In fact, some people act completely differently. This is a story that I found on Fox News, and it's about a gentleman by the name of Gernrit Hansball. He's a 52-year-old guy who has filed 4 lawsuits and claimed bankruptcy 7 times in order to avoid being booted from a 2,000 square foot home that he supposedly bought for $290,000 in 1998. After buying the home, he made one payment, one single payment, and then he stopped. And the bank apparently tried to work with him, and finally, after a year, they filed for foreclosure. So he countersued, and he acted as his own attorney. And when he got himself into deep legal trouble in the foreclosure proceedings, he would bring in a new attorney. And about the time the court would be ready to rule on something or make a decision in the case, he would fire the attorney and hire new counsel. And the new counsel would come in and say, well, Judge, I need some time to get up to speed on this case. And so the case would be continued, and it would drag on and on and on. Finally, after a little while, the case was adjudicated. The foreclosure happened in 2000, but the judgment on the foreclosure didn't happen right then. That happened several years later. The property was foreclosed upon. They tried to get him evicted, and he filed lawsuits against the bank, and then he claimed bankruptcy. We're probably thinking, well, if he's bankrupt, then he would obviously move out of the house. No. You see, under the bankruptcy code, there's a special section under the bankruptcy code at Title 11, Section 362, called the automatic stay. And when you walk into bankruptcy court and you file your papers, the first thing that happens is this automatic stay goes into effect. And what that means is that anybody who is suing you can take no more action. Anybody who has execution ready to go on your property to force you out can't execute on your property. They can't force you out. That is in order for the bankruptcy trustee to gather up all of your property into a bankruptcy estate and then properly adjudicate it so that your creditors get paid. That's the way it's supposed to work. But that's not the way that it worked in his case. From 1998 through today, he's filed bankruptcy 7 times. From the news article, but Hansball never left. By January 2001, he filed his first bankruptcy claim. He went on to file another in November of 2001, 2 in 2002, and 1 in 2003. If bankruptcy things didn't work out, Hansball simply went to state court seeking relief. As you can see, it certainly is a litigation playground for Mr. Hansball. You are only supposed to be able to file bankruptcy once every 7 years. And this gentleman seems to have made a career of filing bankruptcies. This is quite unusual. Most people don't do that because most courts get irritated and they will issue orders that say you cannot file in this court again without leave of court, which means you have to go in and ask the judge for permission. Now, most of us don't need to ask permission before we file in any court, including bankruptcy court. But people who have abused the system often are required to make a showing that they have some kind of meritorious claim in order to bring that claim into court. And that's what happened with him. But then he got creative. Instead of relying on just his bankruptcies and his lawsuits to keep him in the house, he got a renter. He got someone to share the property with him. And that renter then filed for bankruptcy and did that 4 times, executing the filings right before some terminal event would have kicked them out of the house. And each time the stay went into effect and it stopped whatever proceeding was going on. It is very clear that this gentleman is gaming the system, and he has gotten by with it for over 20 years. Now, just the fact that the media is calling us out is probably an indication that it's pretty sure to get remedied here fairly quickly. But there actually is a pretty good remedy on this issue, and that is the Federal Bureau of Investigation. The FBI investigates bankruptcy fraud. Well, when you file fraudulent petitions in bankruptcy, petitions you know you're not allowed to file, you're essentially filing fraudulent paperwork with the court, and you can be prosecuted. The fact that he has not been prosecuted in the state of New York by the federal government is an indication of exactly how broken both the prosecution system and the bankruptcy system in New York are. The fact of the matter is, if criminal courts treated criminals the way bankruptcy courts treat bankrupt individuals, it would not be safe to walk the street anywhere in the United States. Bankruptcy courts give individuals a great deal of leeway. That leeway for the honest debtor is appropriate. For the dishonest debtor, it is not appropriate, and it should never be tolerated. The fact that it is tolerated is an indication, like I said, of how badly broken that system is and how badly in need of reform. Some people can get by with scamming the courts, but they can only get by with it for so long. At some point, this individual will be removed from the house. The question is just how long he can go before that happens. If you found this interesting or you learned something that you didn't know, I would really appreciate it if you'd smash that like button for me. And in addition to smashing the like button, if you would, I would appreciate it if you'd go over here and tap on the subscribe icon and tap on the notification bell so that you can get all of our notifications whenever we release a video on this channel. Thank you so much for watching. Have a terrific day.